Welcome to TV20 News. We are Cleveland. I'm Leah Haslage. Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson was the guest speaker recently at the Black Professionals Association Charity Foundation Leadership Speaker Series. Reporter Dan Monroe was there to share with us the highlights of the event.
The Black Professionals Association Charitable Foundation held their first Leadership Speaker Series at Burke Lakefront Airport with guest speaker Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson.
So this series is a 7-part event. Today's event kicks off with Mayor Frank G. Jackson as the first speaker in the series. The series will actually run on a quarterly basis through January of 2018. We are very honored and privileged to have a partnership with Burke Lakefront Airport and actually the Cleveland Hopkins as well with some of our programming. And so Burke very generously agreed to sponsor the series here. So all 7 events will take place here at Burke.
We have a very strong relationship for many years. We've hosted the conferences here. We've had the ability to interact with the staff here and the people that come to the events, and it's really been very strong. We're always looking for great young professionals at the airport. There's an aging workforce in a lot of places, and it's no different at the airport, so we're always looking for individuals to fill some of those positions, and very committed to the goals of this organization, and very proud to be a partner here.
Mayor Jackson spoke to the crowd about the roles of black professionals as community leaders.
As professionals, black professionals, do we have a responsibility and a duty to lead? And I ask that question because there's a huge disparity between the average African American and the greater society, but that disparity exists within the African American community.
At Burke Lakefront Airport for TV20, I'm Dan Monroe.
The City of Cleveland's Office of Sustainability held their 8th annual Sustainable Cleveland Summit in the main auditorium of Public Hall. Each year, the summit deals with a different topic that generates discussion and action plans that pushes Cleveland closer to the 2019 goal of being a thriving green city on a blue lake. The topic of this year's summit, transportation.
Every year we have a different celebration topic that we focus on, and this year is sustainable transportation. So there's all sorts of folks working behind me, as you can see, on a lot of topics, from public transit to increasing our bike infrastructure network, to how do we make the city more walkable, and even alternative fuel vehicles, so electric vehicles, hybrids, natural gas vehicles, how do we get more of those on the road? Then there's many other folks working on a lot of issues behind me, from energy efficiency to local food, renewable energy, and so on. So it's been a really dynamic event so far.
Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson welcomed the excited crowd with a message of how sustainability has its own economic benefits.
As we look at sustainable policies moving forward, not just in the public sector, but the private sector, we know that works best if we have a true partnership. And that is why we're looking at a sustainable economy by the year 2019 that has at its core not the exploitation of people, situation, and resources, but to behave in a sustainable way that adds to the quality of life and prosperity of people and communities.
Several events happened throughout the city leading up to the kickoff of the summit, including a launch of University Hospital's Bike's Cleveland Bike Share. Through an app on your phone, you can rent bicycles at various marked bike racks located throughout the city. With the Bikes initiative, you can now go on a bicycle ride throughout Cleveland anytime you want. There was also a ride and drive event located outside Public Hall. This event gave the public a chance to explore and test drive a variety of electric, hybrid, and alternate fueled cars and motorcycles. The keynote address was given by Gil Penalosa, the founder and board chair of 880 Cities, whose mission is to improve the quality of life for people in cities by reconfiguring mobility and enhancing public spaces.
Why do we need good sidewalks, good bikeways? Part of it is because it's safer, but just as important is because we need to dignify the pedestrian. We need to dignify the cyclist with good trees, with good lights.
Day 2 of the summit brought the real work as participants discussed a variety of transportation-related topics, created action plans, even built models depicting their ideas coming to fruition. After all the work was completed, it is now time to look ahead to next year's summit and beyond.
With the next 3 celebration years are Vibrant Green Space in 2017, and then Vital Neighborhoods in 2018, and then finally 2019 is the Year of People. And I think the mayor reminds us all the time that at the end of the day, what is this for? And this is for people. If what we're doing isn't making people's lives better, and all Clevelanders, all their lives better, then what's the point?
The organization ESOP, or Empowering and Strengthening Ohio's People, held their annual luncheon and awards ceremony recently at the Ariel International Center in Cleveland. Rosalind Quarto, Executive Director of ESOP, talks about the organization's mission.
ESOP's been around now for 23 years, and we started as community organizers, and we now are working with older adults in particular, trying to help them age in place with better financial security.
Giving the keynote address was Cuyahoga County Executive Armand Budish, who spoke about a new plan to get rid of vacant houses throughout Cuyahoga County.
We've made a huge investment, $50 million, in a demolition program, working with the city of Cleveland, working with East Cleveland, working with all the inner ring suburbs and all the cities in our county, because if we're able to eliminate the blighted properties, that helps bring up the values of the other properties that remain on the streets and in the neighborhoods.
Honored at this year's luncheon was Barbara Anderson, a City of Cleveland employee from the Department of Consumer Affairs, for her hard work and dedication for ESOP. Ms. Anderson won the organization's Inez Tillman Killingsworth Community Leadership Award.
I have a lot of love for ESOP simply because it's the organization that, for me, went right into the community and worked with people directly, listening to people, their hurt, their pain, and listening to that and transforming it from passion and then on to hope, giving people an opportunity to understand that they can make a difference, and they should.
You can watch ESOP's annual luncheon and awards ceremony in its entirety right here only on TV20. Cleveland Hopkins International Airport is getting a new airline offering nonstop flights to 10 different destinations all over the U.S., and it begins in just a few short months. Allegiant Airline is moving its services from Akron-Canton Airport to Hopkins International Airport by February of 2017. Besides the relocation, the airline is adding 4 new routes to Northeast Ohio. The new cities include Austin, Jacksonville, New Orleans, and Phoenix. The airline move, plus added destinations, makes Cleveland Hopkins a more desirable place to do business.
By moving our service here, it's going to give better access and closer access to the majority of our customers, and it'll give them an even easier way to get away our way. This will make a total of 10 routes and will be more than doubling the amount of weekly flights out of the Northeast Ohio region.
When I was first became mayor, I had one mantra for the airport system, and that was to position this system in a way that regardless of what happened in the airline industry, we would be competitive, that we would be a desirable place for companies to want to do business.
Cleveland Hopkins International Airport now has 9 different air service providers. To celebrate their move, Allegiant plans on offering one-way tickets on their new routes for as low as $39. It's a great deal. After decades of neglect, the marquee at one of Cleveland's oldest theaters was lit up. TV20's Enrique Correa has more on the restoration of the historic Variety Theater and what it means to the West Side neighborhood.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is really the renaissance of the community, and it's the rebirth of the Variety Theater. This is a classic 1927 theater that started out as vaudeville, then went to silent movies, and then talkies.
The new marquee is part of a planned $15 million restoration to the theater, plus the building it's attached to. The restoration will include a restaurant and retail spaces on the street level.
For 30 years, this theater has been dark, and nothing has been going on here. So for the last 14 years, we have been working to put it back together.
Councilwoman Donna Brady toured the inside of the Variety Theater with Mayor Frank Jackson. The councilwoman showed the mayor the improvements that will soon take place. The theater restoration is a personal project for Councilwoman Brady, who grew up in the neighborhood.
I spent every Sunday afternoon here as a child watching double feature matinees, and I want that for my community. It's going to stabilize the community. It is going to mean a total rebirth.
Because this is her home. This is where she's born, where she's raised, where her career is. Everything about Councilwoman Brady is this ward in this community.
The renovations on the Variety Theater project are expected to be completed within the next 2 years. In Cleveland, Enrique Correa, TV20, We Are Cleveland.
Corporate employees hit the boardroom to test their skills at the first annual CLEBE Corporate Spelling Bee.
Let's get it started. Our first word, cerebral.
Local teams gathered at the City Club of Cleveland to try and outspell each other. Since 2006, the Literacy Cooperative has been helping to address the problem of low literacy in children and adults in our communities. The fundraising event marks the 10th year of the Literacy Cooperative, helping people to read in our growing area.
And thank you for what you do in giving not only children but adults the tools that they need to just be able to manage life, just to be able to manage life.
The Literacy Cooperative is an amazing organization, and what they've done here to do a corporate spelling bee is a great way to get folks involved in the corporate community, and it's fun.
The winners of the first annual CLEBE Corporate Spelling Bee was a team from law firm Baker and Hestetler. Make sure you get a team together for next year's spelling bee. That seems like it was a tough competition. No spell check there. We'll be right back with more TV20 News.
Open-minded people.
The spirit of innovation.
Passion.
Action.
Rock and roll.
Cleveland.
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 Cleveland. Cleveland.
We are Cleveland.
We are Cleveland!
Welcome back to TV20 News. Ohio City was the place to be as they hosted their annual street festival in the Westside Market neighborhood. There were plenty of games and activities for the whole family to enjoy. The festival was hosted by Ohio City Incorporated. They say they are proud of the direction their neighborhood is headed and how the people have helped to get it there.
As I always like to say, Ohio City is the overnight success story that's actually been about 40 years in the making. You know, there are a lot of dedicated people that have lived in this neighborhood for a long time, and ultimately it is the people of any neighborhood who are its greatest asset. And I can't underestimate, you know, the value of how hard many people who have lived here work to help make it the great neighborhood that it is today.
Plus, Mitchell's Ice Cream hosted an ice cream eating contest, and Frank's Bratwurst held a bratwurst eating contest on the Market Square Park stage. As you can see, people were having such a great time.
They look a little more excited than that.
Located on the corner of East 65th and Lexington Avenue resides one of the greatest landmarks in Cleveland and baseball history, League Park. Many of the best players in baseball played here, including Bob Feller, Cy Young, Satchel Paige, and Babe Ruth. To preserve all those memories, fans can visit a heritage museum that is looked after by Administrator Morris Eckhouse.
The Baseball Heritage Museum at League Park began in 1997 in the historic Gateway neighborhood. It was started by our founder, Bob Zimmer, who wanted to pay tribute to Negro League players primarily, also Latin American players. And over time, the focus of the museum was broadened to the idea of diversity in baseball and baseball heritage. So international baseball, women in baseball, youth baseball, you name it. And when the museum moved here to League Park in 2014, more and more focus on the history of baseball at League Park, which also intersects with much of the diversity in baseball history.
Recently, League Park hosted a special celebration honoring diversity in the game of baseball.
Well, tonight we have a wonderful celebration focused in on the Julio de Burgos Cultural Center and all the wonderful work they do in our community. We're here to celebrate the history and legacy of Latinos and African Americans in the great game of baseball.
Speaking to the crowd was a panel of individuals who made a name for themselves in baseball. One recognizable person to any Clevelander was Indian star second baseman Carlos Baerga.
And to have the opportunity to play with different players, but just to sit down and listen to these old guys, what they went through, is amazing. And to put the numbers, Jackie Robinson, Roberto Clemente, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, all these big guys that, they put those kind of numbers with all the variants that they have to go through every day. It takes a lot of heart to do that.
Well, anytime we can celebrate our history, the rich history of not only the Cleveland Indians, but it's all woven into the fabric of who we are as a city. The incredible inclusion, the incredible diversity that is Cleveland. Anytime we can stand up and celebrate that is a wonderful thing.
Cleveland Hopkins International Airport is not only a hub for a variety of airlines, it is also a hub for showcasing great local artists. As a part of its temporary art exhibit, the airport is presenting photographs and paintings depicting water. Fred Szabo, interim director of the airport, says he's really proud of the exhibit.
The airport is really engaged in artwork, as you know. The mayor has a program known as Art in Everything, and we've really embraced that here at the airport. As you know, we have art exhibits everywhere. We have art pieces in the terrazzo floor, and this particular exhibit today has an idea of water, and I've seen some of the pictures on the walls. One thing you really notice about the art exhibits here at Hopkins is people will go down and look at the exhibits, they'll stop, they really are interested in what they're seeing, and they got some great art pieces here, really provocative.
TV20 reporter Dan Monroe, an amateur photographer himself, has some of his own work displayed in the exhibit.
There's two things I love shooting. One is my wife, my kids. The other thing is nature. I love taking nature shots, especially Lake Erie, one of my greatest influences. There's just so much beauty out there, and to be able to take one still frame, one moment of time in nature, it's just amazing.
A ceremony was held to honor all of the artists whose work appears throughout the airport. Out of more than 600 pieces submitted, only 43 were accepted into the exhibit. Certificates, signed by Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson, were also given to each of the artists. TV20 would like to congratulate all of the artists whose work is on display at the airport. The water exhibit runs now through January 31st. Make sure you check it out. The Greater Cleveland Urban Film Festival wrapped up its week of films with a showing of the new movie Jericho at the Cleveland Cinematheque. Reporter and photographer Dan Monroe was at the closing night event and met the director and stars of the movie.
I'm at the Cleveland Cinematheque, where the Greater Cleveland Urban Film Festival is celebrating their closing ceremonies by showing a film right behind me called Jericho. Now, I spoke with Donna Dabbs, she's the executive director of the festival, to get a brief background.
Well, we started 5 years ago, actually 6. It took us a year to get together with just an idea to bring a black film festival to Cleveland, and we just got together a group of people and decided ready, set, go. So 5 years later, we've learned a lot, and we started with just 4 days, now we're 9 days.
The film they're showing today, it's called Jericho. It's a buddy comedy that takes place in the 1960s in the Jim Crow South. I spoke with writer Brandon Lewis and his wife, director Sakita Lewis, about how this movie came together.
Jericho was just a crazy idea in my mind where I wanted to make a buddy movie about something that had meaning. And what could have more meaning than the Jim Crow era, 1964.
And then as it started to evolve and we started to do backstory for our characters, we got into the 60s and we kind of really started to figure out we had a bigger and kind of more impactful story that we could tell, leveraging comedy to kind of help us weave our way through a very tumultuous time in American history. And so it kind of started to be a comedy, and it turned out to be a much more meaningful, impactful film about our history.
You just came out of the movie Jericho. We just closed out the film festival. Your thoughts?
It's been an awesome, it was an awesome movie. It was tackling a tough subject about race and our heritage and history in America, but it also made you laugh, and so it was funny. So every time you got sad, you kind of laughed. It was a great production, and the way they put it together, it made you think as well.
I enjoyed it. First of all, I love the fact that this was Cleveland people doing it, and the Cleveland roots. I think that's what excites me at first. And then I just enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the story arc, the characters. I liked that they blended the drama with the comedy. That's the first time I had ever seen comedy or a civil rights movie done with comedy, and it was well done.
Okay, the movie Jericho just finished, and right behind me, Brandon and Sakita Lewis are doing a Q&A with the audience. Their reaction, they love the movie. It was a great way to end the Greater Cleveland Urban Film Festival. So from the Cleveland Cinematheque for TV20, I'm Dan Monroe.
As a way to raise money and stay active, Campus International School held a dance-a-thon in their gym where kids had fun dancing the school day away. Campus International is a CMSD public school located on the campus of Cleveland State University. Skip Begley of Campus International's parent caring organization says the money raised will be put to good use.
The point of the Dancethon is it is the fundraiser for the parent caring organization, which is essentially the PTA for the school, and it allows us to support teacher activities, field trips, other events and things that our organization puts on. And
you can't have a dance-a-thon without some fresh beats, so DJ Danny had his turntables ready to spin some tunes to get the crowd moving. Once to never miss anything that has to do with dancing, the Cleveland Cavaliers Scream Team stopped by to show the crowd some of their moves. In the end, all that dancing paid off as the students raised a little more than $24,000 for their school. A group of young adults from the 12 Literary and Performance Arts Incubator stopped by Cleveland City Hall to put on a spoken word poetry concert for all those who came by the rotunda. Daniel Gray Contar is the director of the group.
There are about 4 or 5 youth from 12 Literary and Performative Arts Incubator who will perform several poems over the course of about an hour, just to kind of bring the written word to downtown Cleveland, to bring it to the folks that work here at City Hall, and to continue to provide some enrichment in the arts for our city.
For Deja Vinson, she has been writing poetry since she could pick up a pencil.
I've been writing since I was a little tiny child, like a little tiny child, like a tiny child that they're trying to illustrate. But I mainly started looking into it as like a career or something to depend on is my freshman year of high school when I came to Cleveland School of the Arts for writing.
If you don't learn to write your life story, somebody else will. With the words that crawled from your throat but no longer reside on paper, no, now they live in the mirror, telling you which color of the rainbow you can be today, or masquerading as your shadow. There to remind you if your soul gets too bright, but you've been too bright for me to see. And the raindrops in our eyes aren't visible ink, and we keep forgetting what it's like to breathe, and our smiles don't have enough cracks in them to matter. But Our words keep creating realities and running off without us, so if we don't learn to write our life story, these words will.
For more information on the 12 Literary and Performance Arts Incubator, visit their website at 12arts.org, and also keep watching TV20 to see the entire spoken word concert with this talented group of young men and women. If you've been by the Free Stamp this summer on a Friday between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m., then you've had a very important decision to make. Which food truck should I visit this week? It was all part of the City of Cleveland's Food Truck Fridays. The weekly event brought in food vendors and music, which brought people out from their offices to enjoy a good lunch while relaxing outdoors. On the last day of Food Truck Friday, you know the weather's getting a little colder. Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson came out to talk with the vendors and thank them for taking part in the weekly event. The mayor also stopped by to speak with employees from the water department who always showed up to the event with their freshwater trailer. Thanks to all the food truck vendors that helped make Friday so deliciously fun this summer. Well, that's all for your TV20 News. I'm Leah Haslage. Up next, we're going to have Christian Patterson with the Inside Sports Report.